happy Monday. Welcome back to another episode of Lunch and Learn, or welcome if you are new around here. I am Dr. Jen Dickinson. I am the owner and founder of Mid-Missouri Pelvic Health, which is a pelvic floor physical therapy clinic located right here in Sedalia, Missouri. So today I am going over a vital connection that oftentimes gets kind of overlooked, which is how your pelvic floor health and your mental health are very intertwined. So a lot of times a pelvic floor issue such as leakage, bowel issues, especially pain, so pain during intimacy, pelvic pain, hip pain, tailbone pain, all of those sorts of things can very much influence one's mental health, which I'll talk about, and then vice versa, how mental health struggles can impact your pelvic floor health as well. Now in this video, I'm not going over specifics with how your pelvic floor and your nervous system are intertwined, and I'm not really going to go over the details of pelvic floor anatomy. I have done more in-depth videos on that, so if that's something that you are interested in learning more about, just scroll on back and find some previous Lunch and Learns where I spend 5 to 10 minutes really diving into each one of those specific topics. It is so intertwined that when I treat patients for pelvic floor dysfunction, there are 3 main components to that treatment. And again, I've done a separate Lunch and Learn on this, but there are 3 pillars of treatment. One is direct treatment to the pelvic floor. One is indirect treatment to the pelvic floor, so like the structures that kind of attach onto or have influence on the pelvic floor. And then your nervous system is its own separate entity because it has such an influence on one's pelvic floor function. But again, if you want more information on that, kind of scroll back and look at previous Lunch and Learns. First, I'm going to talk about how pelvic floor issues can impact someone's mental health. Now, obviously, if you have struggled with any of these pelvic floor dysfunctions, this is going to be a no-brainer to you because you have probably experienced some version of this. So a lot of times with a pelvic floor dysfunction comes various forms of psychological stress, right? Somebody might have shame associated with that. There may be embarrassment, especially frustration with dealing with symptoms. And so those things that come from pelvic floor dysfunction or can be contributed to by pelvic floor dysfunction are certainly going to impact your are certainly going to impact your mental health. A lot of times there is isolation and anxiety that can come with those pelvic floor issues. If you are really afraid to kind of go out into public because you're not sure if you're going to be able to make it to the restroom in time, and so you don't really want to go shopping, or maybe you have to use the smaller grocery stores instead of Walmart because you just can't make it from where the eggs are in the back all the way up back to the bathroom. So that can really start to impact your overall health as well. Not going on vacations with family, again, because you can't handle car rides for very long, either the pain or you need to use the restroom every 15 minutes. Or maybe you've really had to scale back what vacations you take because in foreign countries, you have to pay to use the restroom. So a lot of those things can have direct influences from your pelvic floor. And then obviously there's a lot of research on the connection between pain and depression, or just your mood and your energy levels. Anybody who's experienced pain knows how much that impacts your mental health. And then it just kind of cycles with negative emotions and negative self-talk and so on and so forth. But then again, when you have an increase in any of those symptoms, such as shame, embarrassment, frustration, anxiety, those then again have a direct influence on your pelvic floor. So when you're really stressed out, your fight or flight system really kind of takes off. That increases muscle tension. A lot of times with suffering various forms of depressive episodes, that's going to lower your energy levels and you're just not going to move your body as much, which in turn has a negative impact on your pelvic floor. Now there are some, so you can kind of see the cycle there. Now, there are strategies that help both. So, anybody who's come to see me knows how much I love talking about breathing because it has such a beautiful positive impact both on your pelvic floor and on your mental health and your nervous system. You can do various forms of mindfulness or meditation, and that's going to have positive effects on both. And then obviously there's professional help. So with the pelvic floor stuff, come see a pelvic floor therapist. If you're in the area, I'm your girl. And then there's, the mental health professionals as well, such as counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, so on and so forth. But a lot of times you can just start with speaking to a medical professional about that, and they can kind of help you with those resources. Now, I do want to make sure that I mention in this video, if you are struggling with severe mental health illnesses or having any thoughts of harming yourself or somebody else, there is a hotline, which is 988, and that is the suicide hotline. And so I want to make sure that I put that resource out there as well. You can call, you can text, anything like that. There's always somebody that is available to speak with you about your concerns. And so just kind of a short little summary. So often I see patients really turn the corner with making meaningful change with their symptoms when they start bringing the two things together, when they really start prioritizing both their physical health and their mental health, because they have such a direct influence on each other, both positively or potentially negatively. So just know that you are worth prioritizing your physical and your mental health. And if I can help you in any way, you just reach out. All right. Thank you, and have a great day.